Hello everybody and welcome to the GMS Magazine YouTube channel. I am Paco Garcia and today is going to be a little bit different. You know, the other day I was looking at Modiphius' Conan book because although I've already done a review about it, I was talking with someone on Twitter, I think it was, or Facebook, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I was talking with somebody about this book and how intimidating it actually is because it's huge and it has an insane amount of information about it, and I thought I need to make another piece about this game and how it really isn't as intimidating as the size of the book may make you appear. And I was thinking, you know, I wonder, what would they eat if they were traveling from one side of Hyboria to another? What recipes, you know, what kind of thing would they be able to sit down and cook pretty much right away? And I immediately thought, chicken. Because I thought, well, chicken is very transportable and it can, you have an awful lot of things to do with it. So I'm going to give you an absolutely beautiful recipe, so simple to cook with just a handful of ingredients that you're going to impress your Hyborians with. Welcome to Dice and Slice. Oh, let's cook. Right, this recipe is just going to have a number of very small number of ingredients, which I'm going to tell you about pretty much right away. But I was thinking, the reason why I was thinking chicken is because I thought if I had a caravan and I had to go from one side of Hyboria or whatever, you know, the land is very big. I thought chicken would be very good because it would allow me to keep track of who's eating what, because one chicken feeds 4 people for one meal, thereabouts. So I thought it's a very good way to make sure that this trip is going to take 20 days, plus another 3 or 4 just in case, and so we need X number of chickens out there, very easy to feed. We're going to leave it here gently, nicely simmering for about half an hour. I'm going to cover it. And meanwhile, while this is bubbling away, well, let me tell you all there is to tell about the Conan game. While the pot is simmering away, let me tell you a little bit about the Conan game. Firstly, I have to disclose one thing, and is that I am not a fan of mega thick tomes, and I have to say that yes, it is true that it took me a very long time to read this book because there is a huge amount of information within it. I stick to my original review of the game, that this is not a game for beginners because it's just too much, and if you are going to play with your friends, I would thoroughly recommend that you download the quick start guide for this Conan game because there is so much to pack. However, I am also going to address some of the issues that people have told me, and is that it feels very intimidating, that the information is just so much that they don't want to deal with it. Well, let's talk about that for a bit, because one thing that this book has, which I think is incredibly well done, is everything is very well compartmentalized. So if we look at the index in here, character creation is a fairly complex affair. There is an awful lot to choose from. There's the main abilities, then there is the secondary abilities, where you come from matters an awful lot, what your profession is matters an awful lot, what your relationships are. There is a lot to take into account. So one thing that I would say if you want to play this game is organize one session just for character generation. There are 37 pages of character generation. The good thing though is that everything is step by step. So if you follow the steps, it may take you a couple of hours, maybe 2.5 hours to generate your character, but you cannot get lost. Seriously, it's nigh to impossible to get lost because everything has been so well laid out. So from getting a random character, if you have no idea what you're doing and you don't know the world very well yet, or you just don't want to bother learning everything, just roll your character and get something random. At the end of the day, if it's going to be your first game, it doesn't really matter too much what you play. Just roll with it and have fun. So that's already going to help you an awful lot. The short descriptions will give you enough that you can, in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, read this and get a very good clue as to what you are going to play as, which is excellent. And then every other step is exactly the same. It's very, very well laid out. So if you feel that this book is intimidating from the character creation point of view, yes, it's complex. I'm not going to lie about it. This is not one of those games in which you have 3 attributes and that's it, you're playing. No, you have to craft a very well-rounded, and because you have so many options, you're going to have a really complex and rich character, rich in lore, rich in the abilities that you can use, rich in absolutely everything. So getting together to organize that is always a good idea for the Conan game. Also, because of the variation of the characters, where they come from, whether they get along, the different nations or not, is a good way of actually grounding how is the party going to work together. Because otherwise you could have internal problems that could take away the fun from everyone else. Also, some other concern is that the rules are very complicated. Well, they're flexible, but I wouldn't say they're really complicated. I mean, the rules, you get like 10 pages of rules, less than that. If we go to page 93, which is where they start, this is it. You don't get an awful lot of rules in this game. I know that this may feel like a lot, but there really isn't, and you can do pretty much anything you want with these rules. You can use the momentum the way you want and use them to build tension with the players, because you can use momentum against them, and the use of that momentum will force the players to work together, because it's not just a finite resource, but it's a resource that when you use, you're actually given the GM a reason to use them back against you. So it's not something to trifle with. It's not something that can just go there about freely. No, this is a team building mechanism just as much as it is a resource for the players. And I like that a lot. I'm not kidding. If you make a summary, if you summarize these rules in a bit of paper to fit your own description, the likelihood is that these 10 pages are going to be maybe 2. And that's it. So don't be put off by the rules. The rules are very, very flexible, but they're not complicated. It's just as soon as you get your head around it a little bit and how momentum works, that's it. You're done. There is no, there isn't anything too much about them. The other interesting thing about this book that I would recommend when you read it is take it one chapter at a time and think about it as different books in one. This is so well compartmentalized that you can think about this game and go exactly to the part of the book that you need. So if you're thinking about how to run it, the game mastering section is brilliant, and there is a lot more advice on how to use this fortune, momentum, how to run the combat, how to make it cinematic. There's a lot more advice than there are rules, and that tells you something, and it's how insanely customizable this game can be. Do you want to run it just out of the mail? Go for it, and you will have a great experience because the rules are really solid. Do you want to really make it very cinematic and apply some more advanced gaming techniques? Go for it, and this is going to tell you exactly how to do it. So to cut a long story short, because I know I could keep going about this game for ages, because I still believe that this is possibly the best fantasy game out there right now, the best designed fantasy game out there right now. Mind you, I still need to read Dragon Age, and I still need to read the Warhammer, the Cubicle 7 Warhammer book. Don't feel intimidated by it. I know it's a big book, but there is so much to do, and it is so simple to separate things from one another. It's so easy to just go and find exactly what you're looking for to sort out any particular doubt you may have. That once you get into it, once you look at this book that way, it loses all the intimidation that you could feel to start with. So give it a go. Don't feel this is too much. And this is being said by somebody who really shies away from big tomes. So trust me, you will be surprised as to how many things you can do with this, and how simple it is once you get into it, how simple it is to run and to play Conan. And you can proceed to have adventures in an age and dreamed of and have your own dreams about it. But for now, let's take a look at the pot and make sure that we don't have an accident in the kitchen. Conan's chicken has been simmering around for another 10 minutes with everything. Now, before I serve this, I want to tell you, you can do an awful lot of things with this dish. You can add a little bit of chili to add some spiciness, although this is already quite tasty as it is. So be careful if you do that. You could add some bacon for another extra bit of saltiness, although then you have to make sure that you haven't put too much salt in it in advance. And if you want to go really crazy, add some chorizo to it and it will be heavenly. But I'm ready to do it. I mean, I have already tried this off camera and I've given something to Mart to eat, and we're both super excited about this bowl of deliciousness that we're about to eat for lunch, even though it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon already. So anyway, serve a nice bed of the vegetables with 1, 2, perhaps 3 if you're very hungry, like I am now, of the drumsticks. By the way, you can serve this with pasta, you can serve this with rice, you can serve this with pretty much anything you fancy. And you can put a little bit of green on it, the parsley, something like that, just a little bit of a chefy kind of feel to the whole thing. But trust me, this is, let me just put it this way, Conan approves, and probably so will you. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Please send me photographs of your stuff that you've cooked, of this recipe or any other. Send me ideas. Do you want me to cook something in particular? What recipes do games inspire you to cook? Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so, so you can get notifications when we upload more Dice and Slice and many other shows that we are recording right now. And leave me your comments down there. I really and honestly look forward to hearing what you have to say. But until the next time, thank you once again for being there, and take care.